Yo, what's good? What's good, everybody? What's good? This is Empire Sports Coffee in the Morning Show here with your host, aka Coach Dante, in the building. And I got my right hand man, my guy, to the right of my screen, Mo Better, and got JG. People already used to the nickname already, JG. Down here at the bottom left, and another bottom to the bottom right, we got my man William Morgan. How you guys doing this morning, man?
Doing great, Coach. Yourself?
Doing good, man.
Yeah, doing good.
Yes, indeed. Trade deadline day is here. Trade deadline day is here, so expect some teams to make some moves. Make some moves today. So we will be keeping you covered on trade deadline day coming up. So like I say we got some interesting topics today. So why don't we say we get right back, we get into it, guys. So again, Tim Patrick, was out last year with an ACL injury. He's out again. He's got bad luck. He started to remind me of a certain wide receiver, Sterling Shepard. Every time he comes back, it's a season-ending injury. He goes down. I already said I think Sterling Shepard should consider retirement, because every time he gets hurt, it's a season-ending injury. It's always literally a season-ending injury, and this is 2 years in a row again for Tim Patrick, one of their top-rated wide receivers before he actually got hurt. So, Mo, start with you this morning. Tim Patrick is out for the season. How does it impact the Denver Broncos and Russell Wilson?
So I think it's a big loss. Look, they've been trying to get Sutton, Judy, and Patrick on the field the last 3 years, and they've only been on the field together in 2021 in a small period. You got a small sample size of what they could be. But over the past 3 years, one way or another, they've all missed significant times. Obviously, Tim Patrick's the worst because he's just been hamstrung with nothing but ACL injuries. Look, he's a talented guy, but when your body consistently breaks down like that, and you're a wide receiver, so your wheels in a lot of ways are a big part of what you are, he might just be meant to be a sports agent. That might be his lot in life, and there's nothing wrong with that, being a sports agent. It's a devastating setback for the Broncos, because you're going into this season with a new offense. You had the idea that you'd have this nice, solid trio to go off of to be the centerpiece of your receiving core. And just like that, he's no worse than their third best receiver. He's gone. And so I think it is a setback, and it's something that Russell Wilson, more importantly, Sean Payton, they're going to have to try to adjust. You know what? It's next man up. This is where the younger receivers, somebody has an opportunity to stand out and get some playing time.
Gotcha. JG.
Yeah, I mean it's a blow to the offense because they were like Mo just said, they're wanting to get all three of those guys, and Sutton, Patrick, and Judy, on the field, and you're putting a lot of emphasis on Sutton and Judy. You need depth in the receiver core, And Patrick was going to be that for them. So fortunately for the Broncos, you have a couple of guys who are used to the Sean Payton offense, and Marquez Callaway they brought in this offseason. You have Lil Jordan Humphrey, who's also with Sean Payton in New Orleans. And then you drafted Marvin Mims Jr. This year. You have Kendall Hinton. So they have some younger guys, but the inexperience is what's going to be the factor of how good this offense is going to be. Can those younger guys really develop with Russell to make this offense be more explosive? And that was something that they weren't last year at all. They were one down. We talked about this yesterday. They were down last year in their offense. So having a lot of emphasis being put on Jerry Jeudy, on Cortland Sutton to carry this receiver core, while the younger guys while the newer guys too, you have Mims and Kendall Hinton, and the new guys Callaway and Humphrey really step up and kind of get themselves supplanted in this offense. That's going to be a very big question mark, and it's not a good start for the Broncos, which you're already competing against two other offenses in your division that are very explosive. So this is going to take a hit to them. How big of a hit to be determined, but it's not a good start for the Broncos here in 2023.
My man Will, go ahead.
I think Marquez Callaway would be a good replacement, and this would be a good opportunity for him. You saw what he did limited in New Orleans. You saw what he did. You saw he was somewhat productive when called upon. And yes, Hamler is still there too for that consistency. But I know that with Jeudy, with Sutton, you wanted that consistency of having those three wide receivers out there. And you couldn't do it. But I think Marquez Callaway will be able to step into that role and shine and earn that paycheck, and maybe even put himself in a good position to be extended. Like I said, he's been productive before. He knows Sean Payton. He knows that offense. So I think this is a good position for Callaway to be in. He should be that third guy in there unless Hamler beats him out. But I think that Callaway is a good spot for him.
Yeah, definitely. I forgot, man. We got Will and JG, the two Saints guys, up on here. So yeah, for that, it's a good pretty much combination. So, again, so we've been the problem has been Jared Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. They have not been able to stay consistent on the field. But if they do, let's just say if they do stay on the football field throughout the entire season, do you guys think they can make a push? Do you think it does matter? Do y'all guys basically think, will it matter? Will it matter? Will they still could they get an outside shot of compete for a wild card or the playoffs if the team is able to stay together and stay healthy? Will, I'm gonna start with you.
Wild card maybe, but that whole conference is tough. So they would have to have a whole lot of things go right in order for them to be able to get that wild card. Everybody's got to stay healthy. You know the defense is going to be on point with that team. That's a very good defense that you have in Denver. So the defense is going to come ready. But that offense, those guys are going to have to stay healthy, productive. Russell Wilson is going to have to have a complete different turnaround. He's going to have to do it this year. He's going to have to turn on the Jets. You're going to have to turn on the Magic in order to A, do better than last year, and B, give that team a shot, because that AFC is strictly loaded.
Yeah, got a word. Will turn your mic down a little bit. I think your mic is a little bit loud. JG, go ahead.
No, I'm not high on the Broncos to make a playoffs push. Not even a wild card. I think that, again, there's too many good teams in the AFC. You go to the East. You have the Jets and Dolphins and Bills all competing for playoff positions. You have the North. You have Bengals and Ravens. Maybe the Steelers. I think the Steelers are kind of the same boat as where the Broncos are right now, as far as like playoff push, projection. You go to the South. I don't think anybody in the AFC South other than the Jaguars is going to be a playoff team. So Broncos is going to be a third place team in the division, competing with the second and third place of the AFC East, and second, maybe third place in the AFC North. I think that's just going to be too many teams to fight with. The Broncos offensively, I'm just not high on, especially if you look at go to the East. You have high-powered offenses in the Bills, Jets, I know question mark still what they're going to look like, but I mean, they're on paper, they're much better than what they were last year. And the Dolphins and what they are offensively as well. Defensively, the Broncos are going to be a good team, but you still got to score. And I don't know how much this team is going to score in comparison to a lot of the playoff teams in the AFC, particularly in their own division, as well as the AFC East and maybe even some of the AFC North teams that they're going to be competing with. So I don't see it. Even if Tim Patrick stayed healthy, I don't see this team being a playoff team.
All right, Mo.
So their problem last year, besides the offensive line being horrible, they lost on first and second down all season long. They lost those first 2 downs all season long, and they were always in third and long, which is a bad situation for anybody, no matter what the QB is. So what I would say is, looking at what Sean Payton has done, because all he done off season was bolster that offensive line. He's added more running backs. Maybe there's not a 1,500-yard running back, but if you've got 3 running backs and you get 1,500 to 1,800 yards, that's going to be a solid offense. They're looking to run the football. I think this season they're going to try to bleed the clock out. Russell Wilson will have a bounce back year, but it won't be a 4,500-yard season. It'll be somewhere in his normal wheelhouse. I'll say around 3,800 yards, 25 touchdowns. They're going to be a good team. It'll be a bounce back year for him. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but I do think they'll have a winning record. I just don't think they're going to make the playoffs. And remember, that's a top 5 defense. They don't need even a top 2 defense. They don't need the offense to score 25 points. They need the offense to be able to put together drives that are consistent. So if they average 20 points a game and it's a slow grind, that favors the defense. I don't care how good your defense is. If your offense is going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, even the best defense gets tired because that's too many plays to be on the field. I think this year that defense is going to be on the field far less, and the offense, while it won't be explosive, it'll be a lot more efficient.
Gotcha.
Can I say one more thing also?
Go ahead.
Javonte Williams is going to have to come back. He's going to have to come good out the gate. He's going to have to. I know he was hurt last year. He's going to have to come in and be that guy who can establish the run game for them. Because like Mo said, they love to run the football. No more Melvin Gordon. He's gone with his fumbling self. Javonte Williams is going to have to come out there and light things up and stay healthy. That's what he's going to have to do in order for those guys to stand a chance.
Yeah, but they like running the ball, but that's not Sean Payton's.
No.
That's so you have to look in. You have to almost cut the past with the future. What there are with who's running it right now. Again, this is not the Vance Joseph, Nathaniel Hackett. This past coaches of Denver. This is a coach who wants to throw the ball. The difference is Sean has had a quarterback who can can throw the ball downfield. I know we always remember Drew Brees' last 4 years where he couldn't throw the ball downfield as much. But if you remember in his prime, the first 10 years in New Orleans,
yes,
my goodness, he was throwing the ball downfield. 5,000-yard passing and just absolutely tearing people up. Russell isn't that. And I think we're going to see a version of Sean Payton's offense of what the last 3 years in New Orleans was. And, Will, you and I remember it was good, but it wasn't great.
It wasn't great.
And that's going to be a problem if that's the case of how this offense is going to be. Is the defense going to be the one that carries it? Yes. But we saw, again, Saints defense for those 3 years, the last 3 years was really good. They got to the playoffs, but it was something missing still with that Saints team. I'm not putting Russell Wilson on the same level as Drew Brees, even the last 3 years of his career. That's blasphemous. And as a Saints fan, I don't think Russell Wilson is going to be what Drew was the last 3 years. And I think that's not going to be good enough in the AFC. Again, with all the quarterbacks that you're competing with, Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Tua Tagovailoa, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, if you get 3,200 to 3,500 yards passing, I'll say 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. I still don't think that's good enough. I still don't think that's good enough to compete in the AFC with quarterbacks who are accurate, efficient, and throwing the ball downfield in the process of.
In the AFC West, you're afraid of Patrick Mahomes because he's Patrick Mahomes.
I ain't scared of nobody else other than Patrick.
Justin Herbert, a lot of hype, not a lot of wins. So to say that by default San Diego or the Chargers are going to be better than the Broncos, I don't know that. There's no proof in that.
Last year.
They've got last year's last year. This year's this year. Last year, Sean Payton wasn't the coach, so we only have to deal with what we're dealing with going forward. This is a different coaching regime. It's going to be a different team, a different offense. All I'm saying is Justin Herbert has yet to lead his team anywhere. He's put up numbers, but where has he led them? He didn't let them anywhere.
The last time you had
on potential and on, you know what? I'll say this too. There's a lot of quarterbacks that played in the NFL that thrown for 4,000, 5,000 yards multiple seasons, but they didn't win anything. They just put up numbers. So until Justin Herbert actually wins something with all that talent surrounding him, not just on the outside, but behind him in the backfield, he's a lot of hype. I'm actually interested to see what he actually does this season, especially since he just signed that big deal. We can talk about what Russell Wilson isn't, but in the bigger picture, his overall resume, he's won. He's been a winner. And he's got a Super Bowl championship. He's done things that Justin Herbert has yet to do.
And to kind of piggyback off what Mo was saying, when was the last time that Chargers team was really healthy? When was the last time that Chargers team had Keenan Allen and Mike Williams out there together? You can count that on one hand. I mean, Austin Eckler is great, but that team has suffered from a lot of injuries. And you don't know if that won't be the same case this year.
Keenan Allen's getting older.
But yet they still won 10 double-digit games last year. Despite the injuries of it, they still won double-digit games. They still made it to the playoffs last year. They blew it and had the opportunity to advance. They blew it. Yeah. Again, we talk about Russell Wilson, what he had to deal with coaching wise. I know Chargers coach is not a great coach either, and they're winning despite it. How much longer? When I talked about this last year with a group, and I'm surprised he still has a job right now, but they still have. This might be the last opportunity if he doesn't do anything this year. The head coach of the Chargers, this might be his last opportunity.
I agree.
Move on.
I agree.
But Herbert has produced, and he has got to the postseason last year with a receiving core that you are absolutely correct gets hurt. Keenan Allen does get hurt. They did draft a guy this year that if one of them gets down, Quentin Johnson. Big body receiver fits the bill of what they want. Yep. He can go and step in. That way they're not as depleted at the receiving core. So you have three big body receivers who can go and make plays. If they do stay healthy, that's a scary offense. That's very scary. And I think in comparing to the Broncos and Chargers, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Quentin Johnson versus Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and now Marquez Callaway, that's not even close. Yeah, it's not even Austin Eckler and Javonte Williams, not even close.
Right, but that's not their competition. That's not their competition. Their competition is the Broncos defense. That's their competition. That's who they actually line up against. So that's what you have to look at. That's one of the maybe 5 best defenses in the NFL, if not even higher. Mm-hmm. That's who you match up with. So when they come around that corner and that left tackle can't hold up and Justin Herbert gets blasted, it doesn't matter who's on the outside or who's behind him. It matters how that offensive line holds up. It matters if those receivers can get separation from the Broncos corners. I'm just saying the offenses, they don't match up directly. You directly match up with the defense. The Broncos defense is better than the Chargers offense.
And to kind of piggyback even more, yeah, I know Herbert's stats. Yeah, I know Herbert can do this, that, and the other. But Herbert's in a different situation. He just got a bag. So when him getting that bag, that's going to be even more pressure on him to perform. Some guys can do it. Some guys can't. Let's see what Herbert does this season. We know what Russell Wilson is when it comes down to crunch time. We don't know what Justin Herbert is when it comes down to crunch time.
All right, yes, indeed. We'll move on to the next one. All right, so we got Steph Curry. Steph Curry came out and said NBA has multiple GOATs. And it's hard to compare eras when talking about greatness. Do you agree or disagree? Bo, I'm gonna start up with you.
I think Steph said a really good politically correct answer. He didn't want to offend anybody. That's one of those answers that satisfies everybody, right? From every era. Like, you're right. If you played in the 60s, 70s, 80s, right now, You can't say that these guys are better than us or those guys were better than us because you can't compare eras. But as fans in every sport, JG, you're a baseball guy. I know you can't help but not compare some of the greats from the past to the guys right now. It's just a natural instinct. And so I know you probably do that from time to time. I understand what Steph's trying to say. I just disagree. We just naturally make comparisons. The game was different, but we still make comparisons. It's just natural. And look, truly great players, I'm talking about the truly gifted ones. You could take Steph Curry and drop him back into the 90s, and I still think Steph Curry would drop buckets. I still think he would shoot from 40 feet without breaking form. I think LeBron would still put up numbers. He would still be a great player. The question would be in different eras, would they be the same great player? But I don't doubt they'd be great players. So I actually disagree with Steph. It's okay to make comparisons. Look, Wilt Chamberlain's prime and everything he did, most of it was in the 60s. And for the most part, we still acknowledge how great he is in comparison to today's players, even though the game has changed 3 times over. So I'm not going to go with that. I think that's a lazy take to just go, well, there's GOATs all through it. No, there's not. No, there's not. There's been a lot of great players. And if you're in the Hall of Fame, there's hundreds of players in the Hall of Fame. But in that penthouse, and Coach, you can appreciate this, when you get to that penthouse and there's only a select few players, like 10, that's special. Those guys that are in that top 10 in the penthouse, they get talked about differently. And they talk and have conversations about who's the best all time. Everybody in the Hall of Fame can't have that conversation. So I actually disagree with Steph. And I'm kind of shocked because Steph himself is a game changer. He's put himself in the top 10. So I don't understand why he would take that. To me, that's a lazy take when he's kind of proof. He's kind of proof that you can break through. That top 10 was solid for 15, 20 years, and Steph has just broken through the door himself. So I kind of disagree with his take.
JG?
I actually, so you talk about as far as Mo saying about me for baseball, I actually like what Steph said because he's right. He is right. Now, again, could you say it's a cop-out or it's a lazy response or answer? Of course you can, of course. But at the same time, he is right. The different eras in different sports, you have to look at and compare and contrast in a different light. Same in NFL. Today's game is pass heavy. Guys like Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw, the greats of the 70s and 80s didn't have the luxury of the passing game of what it is today. Does that lessen what their accomplishments were compared to what the guys are doing today? Absolutely not. But you have to take into consideration the era they played in. NBA, same thing. The era of where there was no 3-point line. Then you had the physicality era of the 80s, in the 80s and 90s. And now you have the 3-point era where we're in today. There's different variables that you look at and how you compare and contrast to each era. Does that lessen the accomplishment? Absolutely not. I mean, in a way, for the NBA, you can look at what Pete Maravich did during his time with no 3-point line, and you sit and go, "Wow, that was amazing." What would he have done if there was a 3-point line? But you have to take into consideration there was nothing there as far as that these guys have today. MLB is the same thing. We had the dead ball era. In baseball, that you look at and say the offensive numbers were atrocious, the pitching numbers were amazing, but you have to take consideration of what the era was and compare and contrast to what it is. Pitching was a lot harder in the dead ball era than what it is, than what hitting is today. And you look at it and say, well, these guys today, pitching has gotten better. The technology of pitching has gotten better. The knowledge is the same thing with all sports. So I like what he said because he is 100% correct. That each era that you have your time frame of GOAT, and then what makes it special and debate and why we do what we do, you take your GOATs of that era and you say, you debate what would they have done at this different time. What would Steph Curry do in the 80s? What would Oscar Robertson do in today's era? What would Jordan do in the 60s? What would it's creating conversation. And that's all he was doing. And that's what's up. Again, politically correct answer. I think you kind of see a little bit of what Steph is. Steph is in a way, a conversation creator for sports. And that's what that's how I look at it. And it's what he did. I don't mind the answer. He's 100% correct in my perspective, But and the best part about it is you take each GOAT and you can create a different conversation and expand it out to say what made those guys great, what made them amazing in their era, and how do they stack up to different eras at that conversation.
I just think saying that there's GOATs across the board, I don't agree with that. I just think that's lazy. And that's easy to say that, but if you took Michael Jordan and put him in the 60s, well, he would just dominate the 60s. If you put him in the 70s, well, he would just dominate the 70s. If you put him right now, well, he would just dominate right now. The truth of the matter is, truly great players, the truly elite players, they play through all eras. They're the argument that, well, today's players, they benefit from better training and better travel, right? But that's not them being better. That's them benefit from better training, better travel, and nutrition. So if I took one of today's best players and dropped them into the 90s and they had the same training and travel as they had back then, would they be a lesser version of themselves because they didn't have the same advantages? I don't agree with that. I think the truly great players transcend time. I don't. Now you can make the argument if you go way, way back and you start talking about guys like George Mikan and I have no idea. I have no clue. But so when I'm talking about GOATs or great players or all-time players, guys that are in that penthouse, I really think there's a separation from other Hall of Famers. So I understand that argument. But if you take LeBron James, for instance, I think LeBron James is going to be LeBron James this era, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. In the 60s, I guess LeBron James would be guarding the center. I'm just saying that the transcendent players, they're going to be great no matter what the era is. To me, just saying like, well, there's just a bunch of GOATs. I've heard people say that. But to me, when you just say there's just a bunch of GOATs across time, that's like saying basically, I don't want to have the GOAT conversation. So let's just say everybody was a GOAT from different eras, so we don't have to have the GOAT conversation. Like if I asked you, Will, who's the greatest player of all time?
I'm saying Michael Jordan, but I get
but if Michael Jordan played now, he'd be a lesser version of himself.
Hell no.
He would actually be a better version of himself.
He'd be a better player.
It's a lot easier to score.
Well, that's not what I think. That's not what I think in the conversation is like I said, so you have who would you say in the 80s? Who was the best player in the 80s?
Larry Bird, Magic.
Okay. So let's just say Larry Bird, Jordan in the 90s, 2000s. Who would you say?
2000s? I guess early 2000s, you'd probably say Shaq, right?
Okay, so Shaq. 2010s.
Yeah.
2010s.
Kobe?
Yeah.
You have Kobe, LeBron.
LeBron was just coming on. Yeah, he's
just
coming on.
Let's say LeBron. So let's just say LeBron. So you have LeBron, Shaq, Jordan, and Bird. So you have those four and those in the different time area in the decades from there, and you just create conversation. It's not saying, well, hey, if LeBron played in the 80s, he would still do this. Of course, they're all going to. That's why they're great. That's why they were elite. They were all going to dominate certain areas, but you compare and contrast to how they are. That's the conversation of why the GOAT conversation is compare and contrast the elite ball players and be able to say how do they stack up against each other? Not necessarily in the stack up of the era that they played in. You have to look and say they all dominated at the end at some point in their career.
You do realize though that everybody you just named kind of makes my point. Everybody you just named, they're all in the top 10.
Correct.
They're all in the top 10.
And I get where both of you are coming from because I see where you coming from, Mo, because said player is going to be good regardless of what era or what generation he's in. But I also see where JG comes to his point because look at what barbershop talk is. This has been a conversation amongst barbershops everywhere, both black, white, whatever. Or the water cooler work. This is, like he said, conversation. But I get where both of you are coming from because I feel that elite players, regardless of era, would do well.
Mm-hmm.
But
look at the game right now. The argument before was Larry Bird wouldn't be able to play in the modern era. Well, that conversation got smashed because Joker and Luka, they're not athletic freaks at all. No. They're about as athletic as Larry Bird was.
Well, I'm about to say we kind of already saw someone kind of like our generation of Larry Bird and Dirk Nowitzki,
right?
And absolutely excel and won a championship and everything like that. So we already kind of saw what that looks like in today's game. I know Dirk's been retired for quite a while now, but we had our generations of Larry Bird and Dirk, and Larry was a much better defender and overall basketball player than what Dirk was. But Dirk was a great basketball player and comparable at times to what Larry was in his career.
And I still think that ring that
you know what I would ask Steph? I would ask Steph because of the way he answered. Go ahead, Will. Go ahead.
I still think that one ring
Go ahead,
that Dirk won. I think that one ring that Dirk won is still more important and impactful than the 2 KD won. Just my opinion.
I mean, he led his own team, so you can say that. You can say that he led his own team, and that was supposed to be, the weakest team to even make it to a finals. One of the weakest teams to make it to the finals. A lot of people think the Sixers was the weakest team to ever make it to the finals. To make it to the finals, they even got a game off, the red hot Lakers. So he gets a lot of respect for that, from leading that team into beating a loaded Miami Heat, who was far better. You can say a far better talent wise, but on that night, in that series, the Dallas Mavericks were a better overall basketball team. They were a better basketball team on the court.
Shout out to JJ Barea.
With this conversation of as far as GOAT, and again, for being a baseball guy, and the conversation of GOATs and eras is a little bit harder because we look in today's, again, we're a prisoner of the moment in today's game. We see guys in baseball, pitchers throwing 100 miles an hour almost every night now. And you have to ask a question. You almost have to ask the question at that, talking about, well, if they're great, they're great. We don't know. We'll never know. Can hitters back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, could Ted Williams hit 100 miles an hour pitching today? That we'll never know. So it's a little bit harder. That's why I think differently in that conversation because of my sport, baseball. It's a harder conversation to have because of where we are in today's game and how completely different it is compared to what it was in the 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, and 20s. It changed so much. I know we had fireballers throughout history. Bob Gibson, Sandy Koufax at one point, Nolan Ryan. We've had fireballers, but we never had fireballers like we have in today. Almost every night you have 97 to 100 miles an hour being thrown. You didn't have that in baseball in for decades and decades of the game. So it's a harder conversation in baseball than it is in basketball, I'm sure, because the game is a little bit more. The game is more transparent in the NBA, where you can compare and contrast players despite the styles being different. It's a little bit more. It's a little more elusive to answer that question versus what it is in baseball and maybe even football a little bit too. I think that's why the conversation is a little bit easier to have, at the same time harder in the NBA because of, I guess, the perception of what the game is and how easier it can translate from era to era.
And generations matter because my granddad will tell you in a heartbeat, Kareem's the best ever. He'll tell you in a heartbeat, Kareem's the best ever. He'll give Michael Jordan and props as 2 and 3. But when you look at people from that particular generationally, you got a lot of people who will buck on today's players to stick with the guy they grew up with to agree with what they know. And like I say, my granddad, my grandma, they both look at Kareem as still being the man for everything that he did. So I think generations, it does have something to do with it.
Yeah, I caught Kareem later in his career, but the player I really actually looked at was Hakeem Olajuwon. Hakeem Olajuwon, and a lot of people underestimate how good that dude is. I believe this dude can play in this era. If he can play today, this dude can play in this era. This dude can play defense. This dude was that versatile. He played like actually a guard. He had moves like actually a guard. He will be able to switch. He will be able to guard on the perimeter. He will damn sure be able to guard in the paint. You could touch him in the paint, and he's a all-time shot blocking leader. And unfortunately, he's always linked to Shaq. It's back and forth. Who's better, Hakeem Olajuwon or Shaq? Hakeem Olajuwon or Shaq? A lot of people like Shaq. A lot of people, would lean towards Olajuwon. Personally, I lean towards Olajuwon. I think he's a far better player than Shaq. Skill-wise, talent-wise, defensive-wise, not scoring-wise, rebounding-wise, block shots-wise. I don't really even think it's close in those categories. But scoring-wise, I think Shaq has them. has them. Most of his points comes in the paint. Most of his points comes in the paint. Keep Olajuwon a lot on the outside, free throw line, and again, it's just the narrative going around between them two. Then you got the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the world who was really good, who Olajuwon met. I forgot. I don't know that year, Mo. If you can elaborate that year that 86. They played, Olajuwon did torch the Los Angeles Lakers.
86.
Ain't that's the one that you said you fell on the floor?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Ralph Sampson tipped that ball, and I collapsed right with Michael Cooper.
But I will say this. About that argument. You got to look at the fact that dominant Shaq run, ain't nobody touching that. Ain't no those years where Shaq was dominant with the Lakers. Ain't nobody touching that. You can talk about, his later years, with the Suns, the Celtics, the Cavs. He was a shell of himself, but Orlando and the Lakers, you can't take that dominant run away.
No, I'm not taking it away. I'm talking about far as player wise. Not taking his performance away. I'm talking about far as player. This is a player and player. Yeah. I'm talking about player and player. Olajuwon versus Shaq. Olajuwon was a superior player. I think he was a more superior player. And when Shaq was at his best, Olajuwon was actually right there. Was actually obviously right in the same boat.
I agree.
I'm talking about their games. Shaq run was dominant. That's what most people will go off. Shaq run was dominant. I'm talking about as player wise though. If you have to match him up as player wise, I think he's a superior player. I think he's a superior player.
I agree there.
I agree there. His game would transition better to today's game too, because he could play in space. Shaq couldn't play in space.
Shaq wouldn't do it. Go ahead.
His footwork was better than Shaq's.
His footwork better.
It was like a guard. It was literally that footwork was literally like a guard footwork. He was more like you would think he a guard the way he played. You would think he was a guard. You literally think he was a guard. And then I got one more question before we move on. We'll start with JG first. The better player, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett. Who you think is actually the better player?
Duncan's the best power forward in NBA history. I mean, and you have even the greats talk about. There was the interview that Charles Barkley even came out and said, and he put it out there and said, Duncan is the greatest power forward of NBA history. Duncan did everything you could think. He had a mid-range shot. He had a post up. He played defense. He guarded the rim. He created opportunities for Ginobili and the shooters, that Horry during that time. I mean, Duncan did everything you could think of. And again, it was frustrating because I was not a Spurs fan, and it was frustrating to watch just how great he was. He was great by doing things so basic. That was the thing about it. How it was just amazing of Duncan is that he was great by doing the fundamentals and the basic things so well and so consistent. Much like I tell kids I coach, the best players and best teams aren't always the most successful teams. The one who's the most consistent will always be successful. Tim Duncan was the most consistent, great basketball player, in my opinion, just by doing the fundamentals and the basics so well that it was a head scratcher about it. So, I love KG. KG was a great player, nothing taken away from him, but Duncan is the greatest power forward of NBA history.
Mo, who you taking?
Oh, I would take Duncan because he's just a better basketball player. It's funny because they label him the greatest power forward, but he really spent half of his career as a center.
Thank you.
They don't label him a center because if you label him a center, then he doesn't rank nearly as high all time.
Very true.
I'm not taking away from his greatness, and I agree with everything JG said. I just think it's really clever how they label him a power forward.
Got you. Will?
Another thing too, that impressed me about Tim Duncan, no ego, always coachable. And he was the guy, superstar of the team, but he was a guy that Pop would go into and just lay in on. But he took it. He took it for the good of the team. And yes, greatest power for whatever. But I think that's one thing about Tim that doesn't get talked about enough is the fact he understood Pop and he understood the way he coached. And
those days are gone.
He took
Can't
it.
yell at nobody now.
No. Hell no. But he took it. He took it for the good of the team. Hey, look, and if you get yelled at too, hey, he'll just go to that player and say, "That's just Pop, man. You'll be all right. You'll be all right." So, yes, greatest power forward ever, but also one of the greatest teammates, one of the greatest. And that's one of the things I love about Tim Duncan because
that was his personality.
Yeah,
he fit the small market of San Antonio so perfect. He was the personality was quiet, just showed up, did his work. And when he retired, what happened? He disappeared.
Yep.
I mean, he disappeared. He went to the Bahamas. He lived in the Bahamas. He made some appearances with the Spurs, but he completely disappeared from the spotlight. As a retired NBA player, and that was his personality. He fit so perfectly to San Antonio. It fit so perfectly with the personality of Pop that it just meshed 100%. Well, to what the message was that Pop wanted, but at the same time, the culture of the team and just again the small marketability that it was, and it was. I mean, again, it makes you wonder: could Duncan have thrived in a bigger market because his personality was a type B personality? I don't know.
That's the question.
I don't think so. As great as he was, I don't think he could have handled a bigger market with more spotlight. I think being in San Antonio was just absolutely the greatest place for him in his career.
I just think that you're dealing with players of today that has no problems talking stuff about their coach to their face behind their back on social media. Tim did none of that, and I think that made one of the things that truly made him great.
Or at least he did none of that publicly.
Yes.
I'm just saying that's what makes you a pro's pro. I'm sure him and Pop had disagreements, but I guarantee you he never tried to show Pop up in public.
Right.
Yeah, my man Desto in the building. Good morning to you. Popovich. One thing about that veteran team, he didn't play. He'll send you home if he had to. He would have seen him send Tim Duncan to the highs, and he told him to just stay at home. Don't even come on the road. So if they got that bad, go ahead.
Steven Jackson?
I will send you home. Don't play with Pop.
Tony Parker later on.
Yep. Don't play with Poppy. He'll send you home. Don't play with him.
Oh yeah.
Right, so we got Will last topic, and this may be it turned out to be a good one. We got the quarterbacks tier list. So I'm gonna read y'all this. I'm gonna give y'all the names of these tiers, and y'all let me know if y'all agree or disagree, and y'all tell me about your initial reaction. So we got all in tier 1. Obviously, I'm just gonna focus on the person behind Patrick Mahomes. We know Patrick Mahomes is in tier 1. We already know he's the top quarterback in the game. So number 2, this is people all in tier 1. You got Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers at 4, and you got Justin Herbert at 5. We know who number 1. We know who's the number 1 guy. I didn't even name number 1. Tier 2, you got at number 6, Jalen Hurts. Lamar Jackson is at number 7. Trevor Lawrence is at number 8. Dak Prescott is at number 9. Matthew Stafford is at number 10. Deshaun Watson at number 11. Kirk Cousins at number 12. Tier 3, you got tier 3. Kyler Murray, 13. You got Derek Carr. 14. Jared Goff, 15. You got Russell Wilson, 16. Tua, 17. Jimmy Garoppolo, 18. Daniel Jones, 19. Geno Smith, 20. Justin Fields, 21. You got Ryan Tannehill, 22. You got Matt Jones, 23. Now the last tier is tier 4, where you have 24, Brock Purdy, 25, Kenny Pickett, 26, Jordan Love. You have 27, Baker Mayfield. You have 28, Sam Howell. Desmond Ritter is 29, and Gardner Minshew rounds it out at 30. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Is this based off just last season or the whole career?
I have no idea. But this is
what they're projecting for this.
I think it's just projecting off. I don't know where it's projected off of.
How the hell you got Justin Herbert before Jalen Hurts?
Hold on, but this is by total. You got 50 total NFL insiders, including 8 GMs, 10 executives, 10 head coaches, 15 offensive coordinators, and 30 quarterbacks. So these are all of those that's Chris said this season. That's going into this season. So the coaches, GMs, and the executive. got all voted upon this on these tiers.
Boy.
Give me a mental reaction, Smoke, to it.
I'm kind of with Will. I mean, I get the projections, and look, no one's going to argue what Justin Herbert could be going forward, but I wouldn't put him ahead of Jalen Hurts just coming off of the season Jalen Hurts just had. I don't know why he would take a step back. The man was in the Super Bowl, and leading up to the Super Bowl, you couldn't stop him. Like, he had mastered not just the RPO, but if you look at the Eagles' season, Jalen Hurts was killing people throwing cut routes, and cut routes are not easy routes to throw. And the deep curls, I mean, crossing routes. He definitely opened up and expanded his throwing lanes, his ability to throw the football. So to me, I don't mind the top 5, but I just don't think that Jalen Hurts should take a slide. There's no reason to do that. You can project that. And look, big picture, Justin Herbert will probably throw for more yards, but will he have a bigger impact? Because Hurts is going to give you 3,800 yards and another 800 to 1,000 yards on the ground. So I'm not going to put Justin Herbert over Jalen Hurts.
Chris, Hurts is in tier 2. He's at the top of tier 2. He's number 6. They got him at number 6. JG, go ahead.
I don't mind. I mean, I don't mind Herbert that's in there. I mean, Herbert is viewed throughout the league as a top 5 quarterback. I agree that Hurts probably needs to do it a little bit more, but Hurts probably should be tier 1. I've been vocal on the show with you guys. I'm not high on Rodgers. I think Rodgers probably should fall down to 6 and be the top tier 2.
I agree with you.
Put Hurts up there at that point. So it would be Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Herbert, and Hurts in the 1 through 5. Again, pick your order as far as how you want the bottom 3 to be, and then you have Rodgers at top at number 6 in tier 2. The Deshaun Watson, is anybody still really thinking that Deshaun Watson is a top half quarterback right now in the league? I mean,
I don't.
He's been out of the league with the whole issue he had.
I don't.
I think this year, if we have a similar what we saw from him in Cleveland last year, and he has a similar season this year, is the sparkle of Deshaun Watson gone at that point now because he's not done it so long? I don't. That's what I don't understand. Why he's a number. Again, him and I know the Kirk Cousins, perception is not always great, but Kirk Cousins puts up numbers. So why, I have an issue with that one, with Watson being in the top 12 ahead of Cousins, ahead of, guys like, Carr. Heck, I even put, Tua and Russell. I'd probably put them ahead of, and I'm like I said, I kill Russell Wilson. I'm not high. I put them ahead of Deshaun Watson right now because Watson has had many years of either not playing because of issues off the field and then just not performing well as well on top of it. So Watson at number 11, I have a very big issue with. And I think that should be that I think the sparkle of Deshaun's going to wear off this year if they don't have a good season, or if he has a mediocre, I won't even just say, if he has an average season, I think the sparkle's gone. And Watson, I think they're still thinking potential, but at this point, he's been in the league for quite a while. Potential's gone. And he's had, like I said, issues off the field and whatnot. That one confuses me more than to you guys saying that Jalen Hurts should be a tier 1. Deshaun Watson in the top 12 absolutely confuses me.
How old is Deshaun Watson, coach? Is he 26, 27?
He's 26, 20. He's 20, about 26.
So what I would say is, obviously, we know why he missed most of the time. And then last year, you probably got maybe his first slate of games over extended period. Sure, that was he was bad, but the team was bad. What I would say is, I get where he's projected because I actually think he's going to have a bounce back season.
The team, Deshaun Watson was not bad at all. So whatever information you're getting that from, that dude was not bad at all. Even on our worst year, the dude was 33-7. Dude was 33-7. If the team was winning, that's easily MVP numbers. And those weren't garbage time stats because we lost 8 close games that year in 2020. So that dude was productive. The team was just terrible. The team was just terrible around him. So we have been to some playoff performance. And his first ever playoff appearance, he went to the second round. He outdueled Josh Allen and came back and won the game. Won the game. So I disagree when you say he wasn't productive. Even on our worst year, 4-12, he still threw 33-7 with nobody, with no receivers, with no defense. So, and those wasn't garbage time stats. We were all in those games that We were all in those games, and we just had a bad defense, and we didn't have a great team at all.
I'll take that I misspoke. I'll take that I misspoke about that, and because that just goes. It's been so long. It's been so long that we've seen.
So long, I understand that part. Yeah, but,
I mean, again, that was 2020. With the last season was with Houston because he had the issue in 2021, suspended half the season in 2022, played with Cleveland last year. So I mean, I know it was just a few years ago, but that was in the grand scheme of the NFL, that was a long time ago. So that's why I say this season, if we have an average season of Deshaun Watson, the sparkle's gone. The flair of him it being a top tier type quarterback, top 1, top 2, I don't think it's there for him anymore. And again, team sure wasn't, but he put, as you said, he put up numbers on Houston that weren't really great teams, but he carried them. If he carries the Browns and makes them competitive in the AFC North, okay.
I got another problem.
I'm 100% wrong. But if he has an average season and they finish 6, 7, 8 wins, then I said that you have to take him out of this conversation of his top tier 1, top tier 2 even quarterback.
Like I said again, I get it. Now I'm not mad at that argument right there. If you're not sold on him going to this year, but I'm just saying I don't like when people say he hasn't been productive because he far has been productive in Houston. The team just wasn't great around him to perform, and he's still able to perform. To throw 33-7 with a bad football team. When you have David Johnson and Duke Johnson as your damn running backs, that's something that's crazy. That is.
Wide out. Was it Will Fuller?
Will Fuller was wide out, but he decided to take drugs. And even when he went out, Watson was still great.
Hopkins, you had DeAndre. You had at the time. You had a younger DeAndre and healthier DeAndre Hopkins too with Houston at that point as well.
And he got traded. Bill O'Brien traded him. O'Brien traded him.
Yeah, that's how you. Yeah, I got a different problem, and it's gonna make me sound like a homer, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I got a problem. How the hell Dak Prescott getting that spot? That's what
you know why.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. How the hell?
Explain it to him, JG.
You know why.
Come on now, JG. You feel me? You feel me? What I'm saying?
I do. But you know why? He has a star in his helmet.
Yep, you
know why. He has a star in his helmet to the team he plays for. That's why. That's why every retired cowboy goes and works at ESPN when they get done. They got to tell me. You mean to tell me that Daryl Moose Johnson has the greatest personality to be a broadcaster? Now Moose is good at it. Moose is really good as a broadcaster for Fox. But you mean to tell me that he was a top choice to be a broadcaster for Fox? No, he even admitted the only reason Moose Johnson admitted to be the only reason why I have a broadcasting job is because Jerry Jones called Fox and said, you need to hire him. I want you to hire him. Again, go down the checklist of every former Cowboy has a TV job, basically. It's the same thing that Dak Prescott and Tony Romo. Tony Romo was considered one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league as well because of the star that was on their helmet.
I just think it's so freaking frustrating. But I think Carr's going to have a better season. He's going to have a better season than I think Dak will. I think you need to interchange both of those guys out. He's got a lot more potential with Chris Olave. He's got a lot more potential. Yeah, we may lose Alvin Kamara for a few games, but you got Jamal Williams back there, and you got a top 10 defense right behind him for the first time ever that he's ever had. So I just think that he's gonna be a better player than Dak this season. I don't know.
I think this year is gonna be a big opportunity for Carr.
Yep.
I'll go this. I'll go. Dak's probably a top 12. Is he a top 10 where they have him at number 9? No, but he's a top 12.
He's top 12, top 13.
But I will say this. I agree, Will, about Carr. I'm very high on Derek Carr being in New Orleans with the weapons that he has. If Thomas stays healthy, Olave continues to develop. You have Kamara. You have Juwan Johnson. Maybe Jimmy Graham found the fountain of youth in New Orleans. Who knows? I mean, being from New Orleans, that boudin down there and the seafood does some crazy things to you.
It might liven up them 36-year-old bones.
Maybe. But I would actually put Carr in the top 12, and at the moment, and again, this is going to be blasphemous a little bit because I know he just won a Super Bowl pretty recently, but I would drop Matt Stafford out of the top 12 because I think right now we don't know his health. Right. He has been beat up a lot in his career. He missed a lot of the time last year as well with the Rams, and that's caused him to fall off the cliff. Is he healthy right now? And how healthy is he? And how long is he going to stay healthy? I don't know. I don't think a lot of people know that, especially if the Rams. How much of a contender? How much do they want to win still right now? I don't even know how much they think they're going to win on top of that. So. At the moment, I would, I like Stafford, but I would drop Stafford down to probably 13, 14, put Carr in the conversation in the top 12 at that point, and I think Derek Carr ahead of Dak Prescott. I think that should be, Cousins should be ahead of in the top 10. I think it would be the 9 and 10 would be Cousins and Carr at 9 and 10, having Dak and. I'll keep Deshaun in the top 12 right just for now, but I think Dak at 11 and Deshaun at 12. It should be how it rounds out tier 2.
Right.
So you will put Carr in tier 2 and drop Dak to tier 3, right?
No. Tier 3 would be Stafford. Stafford would fall out of the to tier 3.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It would be 9. It would be 9 would be Cousins. Okay. Carr would be 10. Dak would be 11, and Deshaun would be 12.
Okay, so you moving from Kirk Cousins from 12 to 9 in tier 2. Kirk Cousins still in tier 2, but you just bumping him up, right? Gotcha.
At least Kirk put up numbers.
You can say he does put up numbers
every year.
Every year he put up numbers.
Every year he put up
numbers.
He
just gets killed. He gets killed because something about primetime games just doesn't do well for him. So something, and it just might be the yips of primetime. Yep. That just something happens. But it's not just on Cousins. It's the entire team at times, the coaching staff, different coaching staffs.
I agree with that.
Zimmer and O'Connell both have struggled at times for primetime games and their jobs that they do. So you can't kill Cousins completely all the time. Now, there's moments where he just absolutely looks god-awful on primetime games, but he does put up numbers. He competes, and he makes the postseasons a handful of times. They're probably going to, they're going to compete for the division this year. You got to respect what Cousins has done in his career so far, and he being a top 10 quarterback, and he is. He should be considered a top 10 quarterback in today's game.
And consider, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they beat the Buffalo Bills last year?
Yeah, they beat. Yeah,
I thought they did. Okay.
Now Charlotte threw that interception to Patrick Peterson. Threw that interception in the red zone to Patrick Peterson. Yeah, he beat him. So y'all heard. I know y'all heard tier 4 when I announced tier 4. If y'all haven't heard tier 4, you got Brock Purdy, Kenny Pickett, Jordan Love, and you got Baker Mayfield, Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder, Gardner Minshew. Any y'all okay with tier 4, right?
I think Baker's rated too high. I'm just kidding.
You know what though? If he does what he's supposed to do, you might be able to put Ridder in that spot. If he does what he's supposed to do, if he improves, you might be able to take Ridder over.
He must gonna take a humongous leap.
But the one thing you got to give Ridder though. He's young. That's the one thing.
He is young.
Say he's young, so maybe he can move up a couple of spots over Baker Mayfield this year.
Maybe. Well, you know what? If he can't, that's not good for Atlanta's future.
That's not good for him. That's not good for him because Baker will be god awful this year. He gonna be god awful. Even on a team that has Mike Evans, he gonna be god awful.
You want Ridder?
No, Mayfield.
Mayfield, okay.
Mayfield.
Yeah. Mike Evans about to catch a lot of medicine balls.
Well, is Mayfield even the starter? Because there's a lot of, there's talk so much throughout the offseason.
No, he's not a starter now.
Kyle Trask is going to be the starter for Tampa Bay.
You can't beat Kyle Trask out. That's a damn shame.
That's the conversation. That's the conversation. That's the conversation that's going on in Tampa. Is
they have the
quarterback. Which, as a Saints fan, by all means, please. I don't care. Roll the dice on either one of them, Trask or Mayfield. And be the starting quarterback at Tampa Bay. And please, by all means, make that decision.
Let's go.
Because Saints are going to be rolling to a division title very easily this year.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Easily 11 wins. Easy.
All right. So yes, indeed. So Will, tell the people they can follow you before you head out.
Before I head out, you can catch me on the Sports Report on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch under the Sports Report podcast every Monday at 10 p.m. Tonight, we also got Sports Report Fight Night talking the best of pro wrestling. We'll get you caught up on all the news and the rumors. There's some rumors out there about my girl Jade not coming back to AEW. We're gonna get into all that. Thursday night, I'll be over at 9:30 p.m. Eastern from the Sidelines podcast. Player versus Team is the show. Definitely check us out when we talk about all things NBA. And then Saturday night, you can catch me on my show, the Geek Gauntlet podcast on both Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern. And I thank you guys for having me here this morning.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
Will,
Yes,
I always check out the Geek Gauntlet podcast. Look, you guys touch into my inner nerd, so I appreciate it.
Anytime, man. Anytime. Any of y'all more than welcome. If y'all got something y'all want to come on and talk about, let me know. Y'all more than welcome to come on.
Appreciate you.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good morning. I'll see everybody. I'll see everyone later.
All right. So we got the next guy coming up. Y'all already know, man. Y'all gotta guard that. Y'all gotta guard that three. Y'all gotta guard that three, man. We got the stats guru, got the old school guru. But like I say, most importantly, what's the key? You gotta guard the three in the NBA. There we go. And we got my man Brett coming up for the last and final hour of the show.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's good, Brett?
I'm doing good. Ready to talk some sports. Let's do it.
Hey,
Coach,
that's
Coach, you know what? When it comes to stats and numbers, we're covered between Brett and JG.
Yeah, oh yeah. We are.
Good.
Yeah, happy to have them. It's always fun to have both of these guys on, man. So other than that, we get right into some NBA. We go to the Eastern Conference. They got a top 15 Eastern Conference squads, man, ranking in the Eastern Conference. So initial reactions on these. Got Milwaukee number 1, Boston number 2, Philadelphia number 3. I don't know how the hell they number 3. New York Knicks number 4, Cavs number 5, the Heat at number 6. You got the Atlanta Hawks at 7, Bulls at 8, Brooklyn Nets at 9. You got the Raptors at 10, Pacers 11, Magic at 12, Wizards at 13, 14 is Hornets, Pistons is at 15. JG, give me your reaction.
So the Heat are 6?
Yes, I don't know how the hell that is.
You have the Sixers who don't even know that their second star is going to be there at number 3, and you have the team that was in the NBA Finals at number 6. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I get they lost Gabe Vincent, but that's a role player on your team, and a really good role player. I'm not gonna discount what Gabe Vincent did for the Heat, but you still have Jimmy Butler, right? You still have Bam Adebayo. You still have, at the moment right now, they still have their depth pieces that at least helped out, in their run to the NBA Finals, and and there's still potential of adding Dame Lillard to this team at some point, but. You had the number 1 Eastern Conference team. I know that where they were the 8 seed in the playoffs. I get it. It is what it is. But they still made it to the NBA Finals.
Yep.
So I don't understand how you can have them at number 6 and this. Should they be? I'm not trying to put them at number 1 or number 2, but they should be at least 3 or 4. Where the Sixers right now, who are a complete dysfunctional mess. And what they're trying to do with James Harden, and have no idea how they're going to even utilize to either keep him or trade him or what they're wanting to do with him. They're at number 3. I lost a little bit on that. I'd actually like to see. I'd like to see Cleveland a little bit higher at 5, a little bit higher than 5. I probably, just because I think their potential is a little bit more right now. They're going to get another year of growing. They're getting a young team, and they're going to get another year of experience under their belts now here. I could really see Cleveland be a 3 or 4 team in the East. Probably at the moment I'd put them ahead of the Knicks. I'd put them ahead of the Knicks. I'd be at number 3. I'd probably put the Heat at 4. I'd go like that, and Knicks at 5. And Sixers drop them down quite a bit, probably to 7, just because I just don't know what they're doing. I have no idea what their mindset is. We talked about it before, that they have this concept that they're a championship team, but yet they haven't come close with superstar players after superstar players and the superstar players. So I'd go Cleveland at 3. Heat at 4, Knicks 5, And I'd move Sixers down to 7 at least at the moment, just because I have no idea and no confidence in what they're trying to do.
Go ahead, Brett.
So the Heat's ranking is kind of interesting to me because I think where they end up, how good they are, it all depends on what's going to happen in a potential Dame trade if they do end up getting him. Because I think the issue for me right now, trying to rank the Heat, is if they have to gut their entire roster to get Dame. Now you have a roster with Dame, Jimmy, Bam, and then who's left after that. So that's kind of what I'm curious to see. So that's kind of what I'm waiting on to see what the Heat's final roster looks like. And kind of the same with the Sixers with the future James Harden trade if that ends up happening. I get ranking them at 3 because last year this same team was a top 10 offense, top 10 defense, and I know they can't get out of the second round, but they had the team went to the Eastern Conference Finals, the Celtics on the ropes at 3-2, just couldn't finish them out. I would drop them lower personally, but based off what they did last year, I can kind of see it, but at the same time, with Harden's uncertainty, I do agree. I think the 76ers should be lower. The teams that I actually thought were too high is towards the bottom, right there at the brink of the play-in, and the Bulls and the Nets. I don't really like where they have those guys at. The Nets, I just don't think have enough playmaking, and they can have it if you think you can rely on Ben Simmons for an entire season, but I'm not banking on that. And I just don't think the Bulls are a very good basketball team. You're talking about you're paying big money to a big three in Levine, Vooch, and DeRozan, a trio that's been outscored by 20 points over the 2 years they've played together. So I think that there's a real chance that if the Magic can find the right guards to complement their core, they can leapfrog them. And the move that the Pacers made, adding Brown, Toppin, and Walker to that defense to really solidify it, I think they could leapfrog them too. But overall, I think they got the top 7 right, maybe in the wrong order. But to me, I just think they overrated the crap out of the Bulls and the Nets. I think they're going to be lower than they placed them.
Low?
I agree with Brett and JJ. Look, the Bulls they're not good. They're not, and they're not good. And they just made moves to solidify being mediocre. That's what they did. They said we're going to be maybe in the play-in next year. I mean that's a lot of money to shell out to DeRozan, Levine, and Vooch, and all can score, but none of them compete on the defensive end of the floor. None of them. And they put up numbers, but a lot of times it's empty calories. To me, all 3 of them, they're not meant to be lead players. So there's guys that are franchise players, and there's guys that are meant to be 2s and 3s. None of them are franchise players. On a title contending team, Levine is a 2nd or 3rd option. Same for DeRozan. Vooch is probably a 3rd or 4th option. So when you combine what they are in Chicago as their 1st, 2nd, and 3rd best options, it's just not a good team. That's not good roster construction. So I don't see why they're rated that high. I love Mikal Bridges. I like that they kept him and his boy Cam Johnson together. They have talented wings, but Brett's right. They don't have any playmakers. They don't have guys that can create shots for other people. I just don't think they have enough talent offensively to finish where they finished last year, which really was mostly done by the KD Nets. They just inherited that record. That's not what Bridges did over the course of the time he was there. He put up numbers and he was solid, but now you're asking him to be a lead guy over the course of an 82-game season. I think Bridges is a gifted player. I don't think he's a franchise player. And when I look at the Sixers, I wouldn't have them 3rd. I would have them 6th or 7th.
I'm not. No, that's the wrong spot.
And Miami would come up, and you can flip a coin to me between New York and the Cavs. I think it's that close. The Cavs made some moves because they added shooting, much needed shooting, because they had spacing issues in the playoffs. I will say this, though. Unless Mobley can extend his range, whether you add the shooting or not won't matter, because if you have him and Allen on the floor at the same time, you're still going to have spacing issues. I think the Cavs are great in the regular season. I don't know how good they'll be in the postseason. Donovan Mitchell is a more explosive player than Brunson, but I think Brunson's a better basketball player. So I would still put the Knicks ahead of the Cavs.
The Sixers to me is no more than 6. No more than 6. I think they're right at that spot. I understand why you underrate the Heat because you're trying to see what Dame, but whatever trade it is for the 76ers, do I have belief in them? Hell no, I don't have no belief in them. Don't have no belief in them. I don't care what trade they. I don't really care what trade they make. They haven't showed the stability to beat even a Boston or Miami. Those are the last two teams they have faced. Those are the last two teams they have faced, and they can't get past neither one. When I believe 4 out of the last 6 years they have lost to Boston. They have lost to Boston. And again, when you had the opportunity to close them out, you couldn't close them out. Jason Tatum turns into superhero mode in the last stages of the fourth quarter. That's when his team needed him to. Yes, he struggled throughout the whole game, but when his team needed him to, he stepped up. Unlike Joel Embiid ain't do that, but Jason Tatum did that. Jason Tatum did that. I like the Pacers, man. I'm high on the Pacers. I think they're better than the Bulls and Hawks and
I think they
Nets.
make the playoffs.
As roster constructed right now, I think they're better than the Bulls, Nets, and Hawks. They got them at number 11. I think the Pacers at number 7. I would take the Pacers at number 7. I like that roster. Like Brett said, Obi Toppin, Bruce Brown. You get a health all-star, Tyrese Halliburton. Still got Miles Turner out, who have not traded away. Benedict Mathurin came off the bench last year and put up numbers. So I like and Jarris Walker, one of my favorite rookies, and who killed it in the summer league. He's ready to play right now. I like the Pacers, man. I honestly, man, I had them at number 7. I don't like the Hawks. I know the Jadante Murray signing, but I got to feel they still gonna be the same team. So they're gonna be the same team coming up. They're gonna be the same inconsistent team. We already know Toronto is more like on a rebuilding mode. That roster may look different on opening night because Pascal Siakam, and you have the Orlando Magic who can creep in a play-in tournament type team if they can get the guard situation on the way. If they can get the guard situation situated. Go ahead, JJ.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is like, I mean, I think the Magic, if they kind of get things a little bit more with their group of their guards,
yeah,
it could be a sneaky team. I mean, in 2023, 2024, looking at it, they started 5-20, and then after that they went 29-28. I mean that's they have something they can be able to go with. They have something there with Paolo Banchero. They have some, Cole Anthony needs to kind of get things. Jalen Suggs needs to kind of get things going a little bit. I think the Magic could be a sneaky team to be in a play-in and start building a rapport that moves them into, the top 7, top 8, and maybe not this upcoming season, but 2024, 2025. I think you could see the Magic being a very improved group, a very improved team that could start being a contender for play-in, playoff type of spot.
I think a lot of people, too, just underestimate how amazing that Magic front court is with their trio of Franz Wagner, Paulo Banchero, and Wendell Carter. Like, to me, that's going to be one of the top front courts in the league this year, honestly. That's going to be a top 5 front court. But the real question just comes back to me is the guard play. But I 100% agree with you, sir.
Yep, there we go. They got a lot of young guards. I think they may come off one of them soon. I mean, you have Cole Anthony and the rookie you just drafted, Anthony Black, Jalen Suggs. You got Markelle Fultz there. Yeah. They got to figure out what they want to who's going to be the actual guards, because that's too many guards right there. You can't play all of those. You cannot play all of those guards. But their front court is really exciting. Wagner and Pablo Banchero. Their front court is really exciting. One of the exciting.
Well, after a career year that Fultz had, I think he's kind of getting a little bit more value that you might be able to make a move for him. Yeah. And be able to go with Jalen Suggs and Cole Anthony as your 1 and 2 guards, but and try to get something for Fultz. Fultz is not going to be a long-term play for you, but Cole Anthony and Jalen Suggs are at the moment. So getting a little bit more depth that you can utilize them and be able to get some assets back, I think that's something you could do with Fultz and make him expendable for you. But at some point, you have to make that decision, because your value's high for Fultz now. You wait a little bit longer. That value may not be as high as it could be.
JG read my mind. I was thinking Fultz. He had actually turned himself into a solid point guard, a solid playmaker, and he's still young. Right now, his value couldn't be any higher So I agree with JG. You can move him and get some added depth right now because teams all over the league are looking for lead guards. They're looking for point guards.
So we got Aaron Rodgers. We're talking about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers opens up about a certain topic and appears to be a new Aaron. Are you buying or selling the new Aaron Rodgers? Mo, go ahead.
For entertainment purposes, I'm buying it. He's Mr. New York. He talks like he's been a Jet for 10 years. He kind of sounded like T.O. He wanted to do that T.O. speech that's my quarterback. That's my teammate. That whole thing like that. He had Hackett's back. Look, he had Hackett's back. I respect that. They've worked together before. They have a relationship, a successful relationship. I like that he stepped up and said, came after Sean Payton. There's nothing wrong with that. To me, that's being a leader. That's being a good friend. That's having your guys back. Is that who he really is? I think it kind of is. Look, Aaron Rodgers, he's got a little bit of arrogance about him. He always has. But his response to what Sean Payton said, I don't think it was wrong. Even though I actually like what Sean Payton said for entertainment purposes, I thought Aaron Rodgers' response, I thought it was spot on. It's fine. He's wondering why Sean Payton has his coach's name in his mouth. Like, why is he talking about him? Because there is an unwritten rule. Very rarely, and I can't remember a recent incident where coaches go after another coach publicly. And I thought Sean Payton went after him. And look, whether you agree or not, Sean Payton didn't say anything that wasn't true. It might have seemed harsh, but it was true. And so I'm good with Sean Payton voicing his opinion. I was disappointed that he backtracked, but that's because the PR people came to talk to him. But I like Aaron saying what Aaron got to say. If Aaron want to be a bully, if Aaron want to be an enforcer, and he want to be Mr. Jet, be that guy, be that guy. Look, sports is supposed to entertain us in numerous ways. It's been kind of a slow off season. We're in the dead days of sports until postseason baseball kicks in. But any form of entertainment I could get around this time of year, I'll take it.
I don't understand how they still sleeping on the Miami Heat. This is a team that made it 2 out of the last 4 years to the NBA Finals, even though they haven't won it. And they beat the Sixers on one of those. So I don't understand why people still disrespecting the Miami Heat. And they still will put the Sixers at number 3 when they showed you multiple times that they can't get past the first round. Don't care. Don't even matter who they even have. And most of those series that they were arguably supposed to win those series. They were supposed to win those series. They were favored to beat the Hawks. They were favored to beat the Hawks, definitely. They lost 2 25-point leads in that series alone. Joel Embiid turned the ball over 8 times in 2 games in those series. They won better than Boston. They won better than Boston, yet they lost 2 out of the last 4 years. In the year that they were better than them, they got swept bombed. They got swept bombed. The bubble year that they had the best record in the league, they got swept bombed. They got embarrassed bombed. So yes, the Miami Heat disrespect is actually real up on that part. But Brett, are you sold on a new Aaron Rodgers?
At this point, I don't think we're actually going to see a new Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers. Let's be real. Aaron Rodgers has always been blunt. That's something that really hasn't changed. He comes off as a little egotistical, but he's always been very direct. So the fact that he defended his coach and he's saying all these things, it doesn't surprise me. But I don't think we're really seeing a new Aaron Rodgers. And I love Aaron Rodgers. He's my favorite quarterback of all time. But I'm going to sell the fact we're seeing a new Aaron Rodgers. And I just think that we're just seeing Aaron Rodgers in a new market, in a bigger market. So now I just think that we're just going to see more of just who Aaron Rodgers really is and who us Packer fans have been seeing, for the last, couple decades here.
All right. Go ahead, JG.
Well, first, I feel a little offended by Mo saying this is just the dead period of sports. The baseball is still going on right now. I mean, my goodness, we're just chopped liver in the dog days of summer baseball.
My bad, JG. My bad. All respect.
It's all good. Now, I'll say this. I agree with what Brett said. This is not a new Aaron Rodgers. We're just seeing Aaron Rodgers in a market that's not Green Bay, Wisconsin. I mean, so you have a little bit more emphasis on what he's saying because it's New York. This is who he's been. He's been outspoken. My goodness, I've tuned in at times listening to the Pat McAfee show and when Aaron Rodgers is on and listening to some of the. I mean, some of the things that Aaron Rodgers says is out there. It's nonsense and it's smart and it's dumb and it's genius and it's all over the place for him. That's what he is. He thinks he's the smartest person in the room. He will speak it out and speak his mind about it and go about his business after he says it. And it's exactly what he did this time in essence of defending Nathaniel Hackett and in essence of speaking up for, as he put it, his favorite coach and calling out somebody who is not associated with this team, not associated with this franchise and Sean Payton and putting it basically saying, hey, you don't have any say in what happens. You weren't in Denver last year, Sean. You don't know what was going on. You don't know his job. You don't know how he was doing it. You don't know why he was doing those things. Shut up and worry about your own team, which, as a Saints fan, that's Sean Payton too. So you had just two guys who are very egotistical, speaking their minds, and Aaron Rodgers, who's in New York with a little bit more media around him, speaking his mind publicly about it. And we, and creating what the media wants to stir of it. This is not anything new. This is not, brand new Aaron Rodgers. This is just who he's been. The difference is where, as like Brett just said, Green Bay, Wisconsin media, New York media, two different animals right there that's going to emphasize and push and sell and do everything they can to blow up Rodgers' comments and everything that he says. This is what they wanted. This is why the Jets are on Hard Knocks on top of it, because they want the outrageous thought process and words and the outspoken word of Aaron Rodgers more and more and more. And that's what we're getting out of it.
All right, gotcha. So we on the last topic of the day, of the morning. So here we go. This maybe turn out to be a good one. So NFL Hall calls is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer bound? Is he first ballot, second ballot? Is he a Hall of Famer at all? And I'm gonna go with you. Start with you, JG. Is he a Hall of Famer?
I think he will be. The two Super Bowls. I think you really have to put it in the aspect of it. And again, we see the conversation of the Super Bowls that Eli's won. Well, the defense of the Giants was what carried them the first time around. The second one was a little bit more Eli, but you got to take into consideration too. And I think this is what voters are going to actually put when they look at the Super Bowls. The very first one, he beat an undefeated team. He beat a team that was going for the record for second to be the second undefeated NFL team in history, and they beat him. Again, regardless of who did it or who emphasized the win, whether it was the Giants defense or whatnot, Eli was part of that and part of the reason why they got there, regardless of being a wild card team in that year and be able to get there. They won they won the Super Bowl. And they were able to get it there. Yes, the Giants defense was the main reason for it, but that Super Bowl does go on Eli's record. Second one, the same thing. So the two Super Bowls, I think that's going to be a very boost to his candidacy that a lot of the voters are going to look at, and they're going to say he was a quarterback of the team that beat an undefeated New England Patriots team, probably one of the best teams in NFL history, and he was a quarterback of that Giants team. They're going to emphasize that a lot. His numbers are good. The issue I have when it comes to Hall of Fame is, are you the best of your era? That should be what the Hall of Fame is. And I go about that with baseball because that's been the biggest argument again, as far as for the Hall of Fame and MLB or for Cooperstown is we want players who are the best of their era. So the question now I have to ask, was Eli Manning the best quarterback of his era that he played in? Well, no, he was not. No. So it's going to be very difficult for me to make an argument for him outside of the two Super Bowls. He put up good numbers. He has really good numbers to sit there and help his conversation of a Hall of Fame. And I think because of who he is and the family he is with the Manning family, that's going to give him a boost. The Super Bowls he won is going to give him a boost, even though he wasn't the elite quarterback of his era. He's going to get in. Should he be in? That's a whole different conversation. I don't know if he should be in, but I think he is going to be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done.
In your opinion, should he be in? Is he a Hall of Famer to you?
By my credential of what I want for Hall of Fame, like I said, best in the era. That if you're the best at your position in the era, no.
Okay, gotcha. Brett.
I think that Eli Manning can join like Phillip Rivers in the Hall of Very Good, but I don't think he's necessarily a Hall of Famer. I think that he'll get in. Don't get me wrong. I think they'll look at those Super Bowls, and not only will they see that he beat the Patriots twice, including one of the best teams of all time and that undefeated team, they're also going to remember he just happened to have those couple of clutch moments that helped seal the deal. Oh, do you remember that throw to Mario Manningham on the sideline, the David Tyree helmet catch? Like, when it mattered the most, he made clutch plays, but I still don't think he did enough for me to consider him a Hall of Famer. I think if there's a Hall of Very Good wing, I think that's where I'd put him. But in terms of being a Hall of Famer, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
All right, Mo?
He's going to get in off the strength of those two Super Bowls and who he beat in those two Super Bowls, right? He beat the GOAT twice. That's something nobody else can say. But do I think that his career, I'm talking about everything that you look at over the course of the time he was with the Giants, is he a Hall of Famer in my book? I wouldn't put him in the Hall of Fame, but I can certainly see just off of those two great runs, because that's what we're really talking about. If you look at the Giants with Eli as their quarterback, outside of those two great runs, they weren't very good over a long stretch. And he has a ton of touchdowns, but I'm pretty sure he has just as many interceptions.
Yep.
Eli's good for throwing the pick six or any other kind of pick for that matter. So he's got some signature moments in big games, and he's got probably two of the best throws you'll see in a Super Bowl. But those are moments. It's not a career. It's not a Hall of Fame career. He's going to get in, but I wouldn't vote him in.
Gotcha.
And to the point where Brett said, as far as Super Bowl moments, that I mean, we talk about a lot of the great Super Bowl plays. We still talk about Franco Harris, the immaculate catch. We do talk about the David Tyree catch, the Super Bowl. We talk about Wes Welker's catch against the Falcons. The Mario Manningham play too as well. The pick six by the Saints against Peyton Manning. With the moment of that moment does help carry a legacy to it. So when he had two of them against the Patriots, like the Tyree catch, regardless of how ugly it looked, and just a Hail Mary that David Tyree and thankfully Justin Timberlake put the piece of gum on Tyree's helmet, that helped. Those are still Super Bowl moments that will be attached to Eli's legacy. Like I said, should he be? No. Will he be? Yes. I think he's going to be, just because of he does have good stats. He has Super Bowls. He has the moments that were made in Super Bowls. It's just the unfortunate side of the criteria that I think is being overlooked is being the best of your era, and that was not Eli.
So, yes, indeed. So we're gonna Mo, tell us about your guy for the last topic of this morning. Tell us about your guy.
So I wanted to do something different today and shout out somebody that was a great contributor to boxing, not in the ring, but outside the ring. I call him a triple threat. I'm talking about Lou Duva. So when you're talking about trainer, manager, promoter, he was a triple threat. Lou Duva and his son, Dan, formed Main Event Boxing. You remember Main Event, right? And they were like the first big boxing promotion. They formed Main Event in 1978. Dan got the money to go in for Main Event by doing a favor, cleaning up Leon Spinks and Michael Spinks' books. They paid him $500,000. For doing that, he took that $500,000, invested it in Main Event, along with his dad and Shelly Finkel. Shelly Finkel came along. Shelly Finkel was a big boxing power broker. They formed Main Event Boxing. Main Event Boxing hosted and promoted the first Hearns Sugar Ray Leonard fight, that first fight. And it was the biggest grossing non-heavyweight fight in history at the time. if you were a fighter and you were looking to get branded or noticed, you became part of main event boxing. I can tell you some of the names alone that Lou Duva trained or worked with: Pernell Whitaker, Michael Moore, Arturo Gardy, Meldrick Taylor, Vander Holyfield, Bobby Ches, Livingstone Bramble. Lou Duva trained or managed 19 world champions. The Duva family put on boxing events in 26 countries over 6 continents. The impact of main event boxing, it can't even be, you can't conceive what they've done from the early 70s all the way through the 90s. Obviously, before he got out the game, his crowning jewel was seeing Evander Holyfield knock out Buster Douglas, who he trained Evander Holyfield along with George Benton, and he defeated Buster Douglas to take the heavyweight championship. So Lou Duva, when you look at the Duva family, the impact of main event boxing, how it elevated the promotion angle of boxing. Lou Duva and his family, his son Dan, who passed in 1996, main event boxing is actually still managed by Dan Duva's widow, Kathy, and it's still an entity ongoing right now. The impact of main event boxing with the 19 world champions, with all the shows they put on over the course of the many years they've been in business, it's unfathomable. It's insane that they've entertained this many boxing fans for over 5 decades. So shout out to Lou Duva and the Duva family.
I gotta give, you know what? I gotta give a resume on something, Mo. And you shouldn't be familiar with this boxer. Anybody. This is a great boxer, future Hall of Famer. The great Miguel Cotto. You familiar with that dude?
Yes,
Mo? Miguel Cotto, 47 total fights, 41 in 6. Most of the losses, like me and Mo always preach, come at the tail end of his career. Where he should have kind of retired a little bit earlier. Most of his fights, 33 wins, come away of knockout. So 41 fights, 33 wins in a knockout. 7 total title defenses. 7 total title wins. Title defenses was 14. 16 of those title defenses come from knockout, and he has 2 KO losses. We know one of the KOs that Antonio Margarito should have been banned from boxing for what he actually did to him. But his notable wins, he has a bunch of them. He has a bunch of notable wins. He fought Paulie Malignaggi. He matched up with him. He dominates Paul Malignaggi, breaks his cheekbone during the fight. He totally annihilates him. He was a left-handed fighter that was a good boxer. He didn't have too much of a great jab, but he used that left hand was devastating. He comes with a great uppercut. Then he fights Demarcus Cha-Cha Corlin, who was a respectable boxer at that time. This was a young Miguel Cotto. He knocks him out in the later rounds, TKOs him. Floyd Mayweather also fought Demarcus Cha-Cha Corlin. Then he fought Carlos Quintana. He won that fight. And this is one of his most notable fights. You remember Zab Judah, Mo? Zab Super Judah?
No.
He dominated.
Is that the fight where he hit him and Zab paused in midair?
Yeah.
It looked like something from WWE. He paused and then he dropped.
Yeah, Zab Judah got knocked out, got finished off in about the 11th round, I believe, later in the round. And his dad was telling him in the corner, every time you punch, you hurt him. Kind of like the Adrian Broner, remind me of Adrian Broner. He don't let his hands go that much when it comes to a very good boxer that can adjust to him. Zab Super Judah ends up winning some of the earlier rounds in that fight, but as the fight took along, Miguel Cotto started walking him down, and he started going to the body, hitting him with uppercuts and stuff like that, and doing whatever the hell he want with Zab Judah in the fight. Did he face Sugar Shane Mosley also? A lot of people back in Sugar Shane Mosley era, like Mo said, they wouldn't even give him a fight. But Shane Mosley's that competitive guy. Miguel Cotto ends up winning, beating Sugar Shane Mosley. The next notable fight that he had, the first fight between him and Antonio Margarito. Margarito was cheating that fight. Mosley caught him cheating because something fell up out of his glove, and he used that to beat Miguel Cotto. When you watch part one of that, you can see Miguel Cotto about the second or third round, face just pummeled in blood, and he felt like he was getting hit with bricks every time Margarito punches him. You see blood coming out, you see his face messed up, and then he goes on. He fights Joshua Clottey, who was really good. He wins, beats Joshua Clottey. Then he fights Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao coming up the fight. Think that was basically a weight drained fight by Miguel Cotto. He gets knocked out in the 11th round. He gets stopped in the 11th round by Manny Pacquiao, who was younger, faster at that time. Manny Pacquiao was that type of fighter and is younger. He throws a combination of punches. You punch him one time, he punches one time, he comes with multiple combinations. It ain't one punch, he just comes with multiple, and he's the type of guy that it takes an impact on your face, and Manny Pacquiao, just dominate him, and it just got to him in the 11th round. He fought Mayorga. He beats Mayorga. He fights Floyd Mayweather. The next two fights he loses Floyd Mayweather. Now, Floyd Mayweather almost retired on this fight because he said in the locker room after Floyd Mayweather won by unanimous decision, he said Miguel Cotto hit so goddamn hard, he make you want to retire. That should tell you how good his pop was, how good his power was. And Floyd Mayweather wasn't used to taking too many shots like that. He took a couple of shots. He had his nose bleed. And Floyd Mayweather said Miguel Cotto hit so hard it make you want to retire. He loses a fight to Austin Trout. Austin no doubt Trout, the young Austin no doubt Trout. He gets outpointed by a unanimous decision, and he beats Antonio Margarito. He comes back, revenges his loss with the non-cheating. I thought Margarito should have been banned from the sport of boxing after that. If that was Floyd Mayweather, that he probably would have been banned. I ain't gonna lie. If that was Floyd Mayweather, if he did that, he probably would have been banned. But he revenges his knockout, revenges the loss. He knocks him out in the later rounds. He fights Sergio Martinez, who comes in that fight 50-2. Sergio Martinez, I believe, lost only 2 fights in his career. He outpoints him in a unanimous decision. He goes on, he fights Canelo Alvarez. At that time, we all agree that Miguel Cotto wasn't the same fighter. At that point, he was already out of that. And we know Canelo was he was already in this prime. He was young. He ends up going a unanimous decision. Then his last fight of his career before he decided to hang the gloves up, was Saddam Ali. He ended up losing that, going 12 rounds. So, that's the great late Miguel Cotto. Had to show some respect for him, a legend in the sport, Hall of Famer, one of the best left-handed guys and young Miguel Cotto was actually a problem. He lost some fights that he should have lost, especially when I mentioned that Margarito fight that he shouldn't have been in the sport of boxing after what he did, and after he was caught. Then when he was caught by Shane Mosley, he fought the fight fair, and guess what? Margarito got knocked the hell out in that fight, got stopped in the fight. So that's a great resume of Miguel Cotto right there. So, Mo, any thoughts on that?
Just one of the most entertaining fighters in history. And you're right, Coach. If more people don't speak about him, and I get it, he was in an era where he was surrounded by other great fighters, so it's easy for him to get overshadowed. But if you're a fan of boxing, you know how great a fighter Miguel Cotto was. Anybody that fought Miguel Cotto came away with profound respect for him.
Yep. We were respecting the sport of boxing. So shout out to everybody. As comes to the conclusion for the end of the morning show. So Mo, tell the people they can hit you up at, man.
Right here with you, Coach, Monday through Fridays, doing coffee sports in the morning. And then I'll be on the cheap seats Monday nights with Gene and the crew at 6:30. So check us out on the cheap seats at 6:30 on Mondays.
Brett, tell the people they can follow you at.
You can catch me on here later tonight for a Line in the Sand at 8:30. Otherwise, you can catch me on the morning show this week, Thursday and Friday. And on Thursday, I'll be dropping this week's underrated NBA Player of the Week.
I'm hyped, Brett.
Yep.
I'm sure you Philly fans are going to love it, so check it out.
Is it Joel Embiid?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Playoff Embiid, that's who it is.
Man. You said underrated.
Yeah.
No, I'm messing
That's
around.
overrated. That ain't no underrated. That's
Yeah,
overrated.
I'm messing. I don't want to get coach started. I'm messing around.
Go ahead, JG.
You can check me out on here with you guys on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Looking forward to Thursday's show with you guys, as well as check me out on Facebook and Twitter at Alpha Performance Baseball, Alpha Performance Softball. Check us out on Twitter at B_and_alpha. Again, a lot of great things that we do with the kids in the community for baseball and softball, helping them achieve their dreams of being able to hopefully one day play college baseball and college softball.
Working with kids, that's good stuff, JG. You're the guy.
I appreciate it.
I work with kids as well. We got Thursday Hall of Fame game coming up. Preseason is back. But we can't leave this show, without a rub-in, man. We gotta do it. JG. JG, tell us about them LSU Tigers, man. Tell us give us a word on them Tigers. Them Tigers, JG.
Hey, like I said, it's LSU's world. Everybody else just living in it right now. All right, we're the biggest brand in college sports right now. And we got the Tigers, LSU.
You know what, Coach? You just hit me. We just for fun. We got to find somebody on Empire Sports Network that's a Bama fan. Just for fun.
We do.
Just for fun to bring them on here with JG, just for fun.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That only applies for football because Bama's not good at anything else. They're just good at football. They had one good year in basketball this year, and they're going to fall back in the middle of the pack. Baseball, their coach got fired before or after the LSU series because he was gambling. He was gambling on the LSU Bama series. So he was only good in football. And here, when Saban retires or dies, whichever comes first, they'll fall back to what they were in the early 2000s, irrelevant.
There you go. Look, Kyle taking his shot. Kyle getting his shot at the Yankees. There we go. I love that.
Hey, Kyle, I'm right there with you. I'll go on a 5-minute rant on the Yankees too. I'll be right there with you.
I love it. I love it. Hell, I'm an Astro fan. I'm a Astros fan. But the excuses that the Yankees give, I would love it. Anything but.
I got a little thing I'm doing right now because I'm being a Braves fan. I hate the Mets, and majority of my family are Yankee fans, so I hate the Yankees. So this year, I actually have a bottle of champagne. I have a bottle of champagne for my Braves winning the World Series in 2023, just sitting right now. I have one for when we win the division as well. But I have a third bottle of champagne for the Yankees and Mets to finish in last place together. Now, when that happens, I am popping champagne to celebrate what a great year of the Yankees-Mets last place.
Oh my goodness,
that's true hate.
That is. I like that. I like the shot about LSU. Like you said, he got the ladies won the national championship. Could very much win it. They probably the most clear-cut favorite to win it this year. To win the national championship, we got the LSU Tigers baseball team. It's did y'all win the College World Series?
Yeah, we did.
There we go. There you go. You got two national teams.
I'd be happy to petition LSU's baseball team this year to be in the American League Central, and we probably would win the American League Central right now.
And he got the football team pretty much coming along. So he got all three phases coming along, man. So
if we win the football world, if we win the college football playoff, it's another level. It's another level, and I'm not even going to try to hide it. I'm not going to even apologize for it.
Like you said, your former Tiger is already a two-time world. Alex Bregman, two-time World Series champion, and we already know Mo Cam Whitmore is coming, man. Just to let you know.
Oh man. I'm gonna have to hear this all NBA season.
So as for Coach Dante, my boy Bo, my boy Brett, my boy JG, we signing off. Have a good rest of y'all day, man.